And these 3D tasks are tough. We got 3 people. Oh, there you are, Susean. All right. I'm going to play an intro and share this real quick, and then I'll pull you up on the screen. Okay? All right. Just give me 3 minutes and 33 seconds, actually. Here, on. Share. Got a little soul speak on the ascension that we all share. This unveiling, this apocalypse. You know, all this discussion of what is reality, conspiracy, heresy, truth that's stranger than fiction. Doesn't get any better than this. It's not just time to bring on the apocalypse, it's time to start riding it. It's not going to hurt us. Because one thing's for sure, in our conscious mind and even in our subconscious, if that's what you want to call it, we have always survived. And the reason for that is because we never die. So when it comes to ascension, what else is there to talk about? This ascension, unveiling, is not complicated. It's just a microcosm of the state of our being from any point, from this present moment to any point in our past. And in regard to the past, now we can look back to see, to awaken without the element of linear time. Yeah. Because the wisdom still comes. Because the universe is never late. That means we can take from our past the powerful wisdom of the eternal moments, seen when we unveil the hurts and the blame given and received. You know, we've reached a point where forgiveness will cease to exist. Because perfection did not create forgiveness, but as a path to a higher perfection, a new reflection of itself, of ourselves. Yeah, it's true. It's just not necessary forgiveness, and neither is earth love. So we can stop chasing both right now and all the false securities and failed searches that go with the lofty goals of a moral world. But the things that they put in our reach and the reasons they gave us for not being able to reach them, it's time to re-enter the fold of the immortal, the fold of the I Am Soul. How's it going, everybody? We're going to bring up our beloved sister onto the screen now. I need to check Facebook real quick and make sure we're good. Let's see. 33 people. 33 people in the house. Thank you for coming in. If these shows resonate with you, please share. I can't do it. I would appreciate it. And also thank you for your continued love and support, contributions on behalf of myself, Morgan, and Soulogy, so we can keep doing this by the seat of our pants every day. All right, let's bring in our beloved sister. Uh-oh. There you are.
Hi.
What's going on?
33 and
33?
And at 33 people. I heard that, and I was also thinking what an incredible blessing it is to be a guest on your show at this particular time. Right? Because there's been some serious movement in the last week.
Oh my
What an
God.
honor.
Okay, I am so happy, and it doesn't surprise me that you just said what you said, okay? because this whole thing, this energy, this Soulogy energy is just as raw as you can get. I'm not saying that, I'm just saying that's what it seems to be. It's a consciousness in itself, an energy in itself. It's raw as it can get and spontaneous and real time. And so with you having said that, let me just say that I feel like I'm going to barf up my groceries for the last 30 minutes. I'm drinking ginger tea, and I'm coming out of a huge experience last night. 3:33 in the morning, I woke up. All this stuff came in, literally, figuratively. Morgan came downstairs. She was alert. It was about 4 o'clock by then, and then we had 2, 3, 4 hours of just incredible code coming in. I don't know, whatever what is, but it's huge what's happening. You're right. It's been the last week, but man, the last 24, 48 hours, have you, I'm not even here.
I'm just gonna say I had two very wild experiences. So the reason why you brought me on was because of the human, right? So I'm pro-human, and it's really just about making sure all parts of ourselves, right? We come in as a human, you know, and so my whole focus has been about how can I have Susan the human experience infinite love again, right? Because all the stuff that you're experiencing is so profound. And by the way, thank you so much for all that you guys do, all that you share. I can't, like, this has been, the whole week has been about a tearing up of how many people have come here now on this planet, you know what I mean, to be the joy, right? To remember and then grab hold of that human and love that human. And when I hear you talk about that experience, your human self has agreed to be a part of that, and your galactic self is connecting and taking along. So my thing is, I want my human to feel infinite love. It's like a child having a child that you want to have every experience back in the world that it's been denied, right? In this particular matrix. And that's really what this whole week's been about. So it's been, anywhere my brain wants to show where there's not love, I just keep giving it love and asking for love and asking for the help and love that is available to each and every one of us. And I had this thing that happened that it was like this ended, like everything we're in right now ended. I saw it, I experienced it, and then it was like, that's the best way. And I was like, oh my God, it was like it ended where we were. It was almost like we went to the reset. You know how they say we're on a 9 and then we go to a 10 and then it resets back to 0 point and then it goes back to 1. We're in the 0. That's what I felt. That's what I experienced. And then everything around that is just, every time I get in contact with people, I'm either seeing what they're doing or I'm giving them the message from, a spirit guide to remind them that they're creating an incredible life for themselves now.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people still flowing through the pain piece of it. But I will tell you, we're in a special time. We're not where we were.
No.
At all.
And I didn't even roll the show out. But this is it. We'll get to it later. Why do you have to go in the order of the old paradigm? Why do you do an intro and then you do this and you do that? But you said a couple of things there that really jump out. One was the time right now. And we think of time as in hours or days or weeks or in, flip a switch and at that time, it happens in that moment. But this is a different kind of deal. And I remember probably 5 or 6 days ago that we did a show and then we had to lay down and we were just laying there meditating, and the electricity on the entire island and another 3 or 4 islands went off totally.
Oh wow.
And I heard, because the fans stopped, and I felt the energy come in, and I was like, wow, what's going on? Then my human kicked in and said, hey, the fans are not on, the electricity's off. And then as I was getting up and the human starts to rationalize it and explain it, I heard time just stopped. So I got like this
Wow.
said about the 0 point. So it was like, I want to say a pendulum, but it's not, because it would be like a pendulum if the pause happened right in the middle. So it's like the space between breaths. It's like all of a sudden there was no exhale, no inhale. It's just this space. And since that time, things have gotten weird and wild and fast.
And that was this week, right?
Yeah, it was a few days ago. And then
that was this week, right? Just a few days ago. That's exactly, yes.
Yeah. And so like that time, like
it was like, I don't even know what time it would be your time.
I think it was probably my time. It would probably
Forgive
be
me.
This time, about this time of day, maybe 2 o'clock. Or well, like so like over there it's 3:30, so it would have been like 3:30.
Interesting.
And then the other thing that you brought to mind was
yes. That was the time.
Yeah, I'm telling you, man. And then the other thing that you brought to mind was
I'm so excited. I'm so sorry. My human side gets giddy because I'm like, yay.
I wish I am like out of it. I feel like I'm oh my God, I don't even want to talk about last night, but you brought something else up and you said how special the time was. And last night and today, this morning, of talking with Morgan and reading a post by Sophie Bashford, one by Amanda Lawrence, all of this stuff coming in and kind of aligning, and the message coming in was, wow, what is happening? The time that you're in, the time that we're all experiencing, the chosen, earn to come down here and do is so far beyond your wildest dreams, hopes, imagination, that this is it's so much. They told me last night, it's too much for you. You're going to give you pieces because we would scare the freaking pants off you otherwise. But we're walking into our own self-development, our own self creative abilities, our true self. It's nothing less than God, goddess, creation, frequency, remix. Like Auguste says. I have no idea. It's mind blowing. My mind's blown right now.
It isn't, right? I know, and it's really beautiful because that collective consciousness, right, that we all know that we're part of as a human, because there's so many parts to the human, and the collective consciousness now is getting that first wave, and that's what makes me giddy, is that our human is learning how to be galactic again. Our human is learning how, like truly learning, not like an idea, not like sitting in the room and meditating. It literally, everything is merging to like the human that has been in bondage for like, I don't even know how long, is now in motion, and it's affecting the collective. The matter is affecting the collective. And I get so excited because it's been a long time coming. I call myself an OG because I've been at it for such a long time, and I've tried
Original
all the different
goddess.
rides, and it wasn't until original goddess. I'm OG in the house.
I was
like, we're taking the slow burn, Susan. Take the slow ride.
There's a little bit of a lag, so if it looks like I'm interrupting you, I'm not. It's just but anyway, so I wrote a Soul Speaks. God, I wish I could remember it, but my brain is absolutely scrambled eggs right now. But I wrote a Soul Speak, and it starts out with some rhyme, and then it says original OG, original guarantee. And then as I started to perform it, it flowed like original OG, original God goddess, original guarantee. So you say,
I love it, because that's really what what it's fun, because then it takes it back to the original human when it first started, right?
Yeah,
and I've been traveling the original human, like energy, like everything that what the original blueprint was, because I wanted to understand the human. I wanted to understand the ego. I wanted to understand, and I wanted to find a way within myself, all within self. This is self like you just bring it back to self, because what else is there, right? You're given one human. Your human is Todd. Hey Todd, what's up, human? You know what I mean? You got your one human, and it's Todd, and I've got Susan, and Morgan's got Morgan. And we know that they're not perfect, right? We know that they're not anything, but we know that they've been in bondage. So we are doing all that we can, and they're trusting us. And now we've developed these friendships with them, these true partnerships, these true relationships, and it is on and popping. And I'm so excited because I had to go all the way through the little girl, the little boy. I had to do all of it to gain the trust back.
Yeah.
Within the self, and that's what we're at right now. It makes me so excited because the origination of the OG, the one you're talking about, is where it's now headed. But it's always been headed that way. But I guess, I don't know, it's just time for, I say celebrate every win. No matter how scrambled we feel.
Yeah.
The wins are the celebrations. And I feel inspired to inspire that that human.
Well, what you said about,
and you always say the human is the hero.
Yeah. What you said earlier, I hope I can remember it. But what's funny is, right, I do pretty much do everything as I'm told, as I get it. And so before going on the show, and I know this because this has happened quite a few times, it's not about the person that's coming on, what'll happen is 30 minutes, an hour before, 15 minutes, I'll start to get this feeling like I get sick, like I want to vomit. And I'm realizing now that it's the alignment coming of everyone that's going to be present. That in other words, like the higher selves are all coming together, everything's coming into alignment, and then the show starts, and then something spontaneous happens like that. Right before I came on, I got a little jolt, and it was like, okay, because I heard this last night, you were no longer having just a human experience. And I'm like, what? And then right before the show, I put up a little meme, and it said, we are no longer just having a human experience, yet still the human is the hero. There's something about the human coming into this awareness, and that awareness is more than just their story. And it's actually the present blossoming expansion in the moment of this incredible made in the image divine force, right? And what you said that resonated, now I remember, was that whatever you want to call that group, like whatever it's labeled, first waivers, I don't know, whatever. It's actually being put into motion now, and by virtue of that, it's having this incredible effect on what we might call the external or the old paradigm or whatever. I don't know, but it's mind blowing. It's just mind blowing.
It's an application of an evolution in the human blueprint back to its original self. But it makes me think of like the way, there's two things I want to share. One of them was I had this experience, and it was talking about the divine mother and father were telling me that they gave their child, right, the one that hurt the most, the will. Because if you want to show someone that you trust and love them, you give them the ability to make a decision. You empower them to the fullest content. So the human has had the will, the free will, right? And I was like, oh my God, like it like sent waves of love into my human, because the human, right, has also been, seen horrific things. And when we look at it from this lifetime, it may seem like, holy shit, most of the spiritual workers are like, get me, let's get this popping. I don't think how much more I can take. Well, now let's take a human that has looped energetically over and over and over again. It went from life, and then it never made it anywhere else because it didn't know any better, right? And it looped back into the system, and it's been a human for, like, let's say 500 years, 5,000 years, 50 years, because I'm 50, right? I'm 50. Sorry, I always think of that Saturday Night Live character, and I'm like, I'm 50 years old. And think of that character being here for 500, right? They showed me that the other night, and I just started crying because I thought, I didn't just, I just got here 50 years ago,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
some have been here 500. And I was like, whoa, like it gave me perspective, and it gave me a compassionate perspective, because I think that when it's all said and done, the compassion for why we're here, and this is what they showed me just 2 days ago, that we came to show that we're the real deal. We're the real loving family. We're here. So we've got our spirit self, right? Showing the human self, the Todd, the Susan, the Morgan, that we're the real deal. We're not talkers, we're walkers. We're here. We take the ride, we've taken the back seat. We will stand, we will be there. We will hold you when you feel scared. We will do everything we can, and we won't interfere, and we won't tell you you're wrong. And then that's when you know that there's trust that's built. And that's what we've done. We've built the trust of a human that's been without itself, knowing itself as love and not being loved.
Yeah.
And
Wow.
it's been a long, long, long time. And that's the perspective that I'd like to share with every light worker out there, because to complete a cycle, we have to know that why we have all these gifts, and they're coming online. I think that's all fantastic, but let's not forget that it's almost like an innocent child that we've all come back to allow to trust us again, and that it has, and that's why we're having wonderful success. And it's about celebrating that relationship, and that relationship is, it was hard. It took 50 years on my end to build enough faith that my free will would ask for love from the universe. It takes a lot of faith in Todd that could ask to and feel comfortable receiving galactic downloads, and and dragons and all that stuff. I mean, don't you just want to love that human, like, even more, that they trust you? And it feels like such an honoring relationship. Like, you're having the most beautiful honoring relationship with Morgan, but then think about also the honoring relationship you're really having with your human. I mean, it's pretty special. And that's when I felt like, when I got that information, is when I don't know, then that's when those were the building up phases, and then that turned everything into motion. And I'm affecting matter here with the human piece of it. Like, that's, if you said, Susan, what is what's your job here? My job is to bond with that human and understand the human, so together we can bring in that, but only when they say yes.
Yeah.
And yours has said yes, mine has said yes. And that's what we were talking about the other night. That's how I'm actually standing before you now, is we were, having our personal conversation, and it was all about saying yes.
Yeah.
Your personal human had to say yes, and my personal human had
That's right.
to say yes. And it was there's something special in that. And it's, it can be lost with all the gifts coming online right now, because it feels really good to have those gifts, and and the gifts are just beginning. But they were very clear to share that with me, and it made me cry.
Yeah.
It makes me want to cry now, because that's a long time relationship that needed mending, and it had to come through will. That's beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's happening on an individual level, like you're choosing it. Todd is choosing it. We celebrate him and thank him for trusting us, and hug him and say how much we love him, and the same thing for Susan, and the same thing for Morgan, and the list goes on. And you've had some incredible people, and all of it. I look at them and I bow to their gracious human,
Man. Yeah. This,
and that's
and then you said,
where we're at right now.
yeah. You said,
It's deep.
what the first thing you said, which was profound, okay, is that we love how you describe the love, but we love them. We love our brother or our sister so much. We allow them to make their own choice, right? We don't judge them. We allow them to make their own choice. And I think there's a lot of that going on. We you know, Morgan said for years, why would I do it for you and take that away from you? Like there's something about the human doing it for themselves that raises their awareness of self.
Well, think of yourself as a child in a room. Would you want me making you do something, or do you know, do I want you cleaning your room because I demanded it of you, or do I want you cleaning your room and feeling good about the space in which it's a different approach, isn't it? Yeah. And when we get here, there's so much feeling alone, and then there's so much there's so many like trajectories. Let's talk about trajectories. There are so many friggin' trajectories going on right now. So many, you know, we've got so many movements going on with so many different focuses, you know, in addition to that. So think about the human who's very like, you know, maybe doesn't even know themselves yet in any way that they are a spirit. And then we've got all these trajectories going on. It's pretty amazing. Like if you think about it, it's like literally like a galactic show's happening. We've got the dragons are on my we've got the angels. I mean, the party is getting started.
Right.
And some humans don't know yet that they're even, you know, that they even have a soul.
Well,
Crazy,
you know,
it's crazy trajectories right now too. It's kind of cool.
Oh my God, it is. So it was like actually yesterday, starting during the day, I started getting, and I ended up, we were watching the series to try to process it, but I ended up writing down all these names I was given, these masculine names. There was this trident. There was this blue king is the word I got. Avian.
Oh yeah, I was going to say.
I mean,
that's Arcturian.
Sorry,
not Arcturian. That's like Atlantis. Atlantis is coming back online. That's a fun one.
I don't know, man. It's just like
the avian.
Trying to make sense of it. You know, you just said something too, and Franco was on a couple of days ago. That day that Melissa Dehan was on and Chandra Walter, Franco ended the day, and Franco's got that long time intel. It's good. You know, you can tell it's real. It's some of the like literal things of how it works and what he's been privy to, his lives on other planets, for instance, and just other things, what's happening here, you know. But anyway, he said he would talk about, obviously in his conversations, the different multidimensional aspects and the different levels of soul, like oversoul, monadic, and this and that. And then this last show, he said he would often refer to the human as the human aspect, kind of like you're referring to the human right now.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, he's explaining the human, and he says, and the human is like the soul. It's almost a soul. And I thought, wow, that's why is that in my head? Why do I feel all this time I've felt that if you take the definition of transmutation and you look it up in the dictionary, about the third one down, it either says biological definition or physics definition. I can't remember which one. And it says transmutation is the transformation of a species from one species to another. And so what I'm saying is the human, because I've often felt that the human is coming into its own dimension, into the kingdom, you know, to a level where it is aware that it is equal. Like last night, I'm merging with reptilians, with what we might call demonic, angelic. I mean, every aspect the universe could show me, particularly the dark, because it was saying, are you sure you feel like you're one? I'm like, yes. And so it's like we're going into this territory where there's a universal family that's all fully aware, and we're graduating or something. I don't know, but that's what it feels like to me. So when he said,
100% right. You're 100% right. Didn't miss a beat at all of it. And it is transmutation and transformation. It's a first law of theory, or that you cannot, you're not generating energy. You're literally either it's going to stay the same or it's going to transfer, it's going to transform. And that is only will can choose that. That's the gift of all this. It's about the will, and then for me, I don't go past that point of discussion because there are so many people from so many different galactic systems, and there are so many because it doesn't touch and it doesn't hurt their journey or where they're wanting to go, where they're needing to go. It just gives the dynamics of our structure that we are playing from and playing with. And that is one part of, in my opinion, this whole spiritual ride. We have to take all parts. And it's like, I said this video the other day, I was like, I'm going to leave my finger behind. I'm like, okay, all parts of me are really magical. I can fly now, I can do all this stuff, but I won't take this one piece. That one piece has been the darkness. It has been the liar. It's been the cheater. It's been the killer. It's been everything, even if by association.
Yes. Like turn your
Even
head.
if by association, so if you take out, like, how did darkness become its darkness? It started off not knowing itself as love.
Yeah.
Well, if a human doesn't know it's not self as love, then how far removed am I from that? And that's what they just keep showing me, that it's them take something and take it into, thousands of years, and you will see that it becomes the murderer. But that murderer starts off with the thoughts that we have now. So maybe you and I are not the murderer, right? But we are maybe we're like, I could just kill that person. Not really, but figuratively speaking. Or I hate that person. She's so mean, or whatever it may be. Now you take that thought and leave it on the planet for 500 years, 1,000 years, and it might become that. The further away you get from not knowing yourself as loved and that you are loved.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, Todd, really just you and I, as from the human perspective, we know what it feels like not to feel loved. My biggest cry in the last year and a half alone was hitting those places within myself to know that I'm worthy of love. Like to feel the Divine Mother love me and to show me that I'm worthy of love, that I deserve her love, because there were parts of the human that does feel that way. And those are the parts that we call evil if it's left on the planet for long periods of time.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? If you stretch it on out. And that's, everything comes from that source of light until it forgets it's been too long before it goes home, and that's where I feel like we can all relate to it, and even the darkest of the darkest is not relatable, because we know now from a spiritual standpoint what it feels like to be the human again for 50 something years. It's some real stuff. It's real, like, how could someone do it for 500 years? I don't know.
Shit, I feel like it's
not gracefully. I'll tell you that.
1,000.
5,000. It is, but I just used.
I know, I'm just saying, to me, it feels like, yeah. You brought up something else. You brought up something else too that's interesting. So you said about the the different aspects. Like, okay, like for instance, I've got one friend. Let's just say I'm kind of making this up, but one friend's like, I know you as a Lemurian. I know you, and I do. I'm not even more than with just him. I see the lineage and the shared experiences and such. Then I have another friend who's sending me notes saying, you're on the ship. Let me tell you what's going on. And I have resonance with that. And so what I'm getting at is we have all these things come in. And they're basically telling us at the end of the day, they're like synchronicities. They're like 1111, 5555. They're messages, they're code. And I see something miraculous happening, which is more and more people not attaching to that stuff anymore. They're not saying I am this and limiting themselves. Just understanding that they have and so as I'm getting all this, and I think we've all had this happen a little bit, they'll say, hey, you came in my dream last night, you gave me this big crystal, and whatever, and gave me this message, and people
Yep.
told me and Morgan the same thing. They individually and together, you guys came to see us, and da da da. So anyway, but as I hear all this and take all this in, and like what you were talking about at the top of the show, and I wake up today and I'm talking to my beloved wife, and I'm like, this is what happened to me last night. So this is what happened to me last night. I'm like, well, it's the same thing. And then we read this post, and then we read this other post. It's like, oh my God, bing, 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 bing. But everything driving us back to what you said at the top of the show, which is the human becoming aware that it's actually what it is, which is what everything else is, which is comprised of everything, which is like mind-blowing. Like, give me a teaspoon at a time, because I see this. I'm starting to see, I don't know where it's going, but I can kind of see that it's something way over my head. You can take all.
I to be honest with you, it's way over the human's head, but then it's not way over the other head, right? The other parts that are coming together. What's happening is it's a reunification. That's what I just heard. It's a reunification of all, every part of energy. That's what they're showing me. Every part of energy starts somewhere, and even if it denies itself for 5,000 years, 500,000 years, let it. I don't have the answers to that, nor do I. It's not relevant to because it's the equation, right? And everything is an equation. But that particle was something amazing. It can't not be born out of perfection, and that's another thing that keeps coming in, perfection, right? That human that you identify as Todd was pure perfection.
Yeah.
And somehow it just lost its way from, but it may have gone all those ways prior to even getting here, which is why it's reuniting with all aspects of those parts.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like with the aliens and the Atlanteans and the Lemurians and all that stuff. Like, it may have had lifetimes in all of those parts, and now all parts are coming online through you.
Yeah.
Right? You're the host.
Yeah.
Hosting the party of the reuniting of that. You know what I mean? So it's not, we're out of the phase of this is what you have to do. You have to meditate. You have to do this. You have to do that. And this is how you're going to get here. It's about reunification inside. It's about reuniting all of it inside the way it's meant to reunite for you. And that's why there's no blueprint to that, because that's why I said there's so many trajectories, because everyone's coming online with exactly, how, who, when. It's so different. We've lived all so many lifetimes ago. And as you do your work, what's cool is that collective consciousness, right, that the human is tapped into, that was meant to harm it, right, to put it down, to stifle it, to keep it in its motion, that party's been blown wide out. And everyone consciously doing their stuff is interjecting into that collective consciousness too. So that's kind of cool as well, right? So if I had never been an avian blue beam, the birds, which I have, but that's another show altogether, I now get to experience it because your human and my human are in agreement with sharing and just creating a whole reunification and a party. Like, it's a party that's like really cool. And at the same time, it's the human is still trusting in it, so it's a wild time, man. And it's beautiful, and you don't have to have special gifts, you don't have to have anything, you just have to remember that you are loved. You are loved, and every person that is showing up as a mirror is someone that loves you. Someone that cared enough to come to this matrix. You feel me? Like, came to the matrix. They're here. If they have, a soul, and they're here, and they're pretty easy to sense. They're the ones you call the weirdos and the oh my God, that's so weird.
It's everybody I know here.
They're the
it's everybody I know
and all that stuff, right? It's everybody. So that's what I'm being shared with on this, what this time means. And I feel honored, and I feel honored outside of myself with what I see in the mirror, and I feel honored with what I get to experience inside because my human says yes. It says yes to I'd love to experience
That's
infinite
the
love.
point.
You know what
That's
I
the
mean?
point. That's the thing, is
Yeah.
that through all of the distortion and distraction, traumas, whatever, you know, that is all put into place in a beautiful, perfect design and plan or whatever to keep the human from itself is overcome, and then the human part of us, has to make the choice. I call it the human aligning its free will with divine will or divine
Mhm.
truth. Because like when you talk about what's happening inside of us, so not only, you know, we think, okay, well, we're healing ourselves, therefore we're healing our lineage, and you know, and I'm not making fun of any of that. We're doing it all. It's a
Mhm.
universal correction. So we're actually bringing, you know, we might think of, for instance, this country. Well, red, black, white, yellow, brown. Let's unite them. Let's reunite all faiths and all sexual preferences and da da da. So you take and encompass the whole world. But we're actually taking worlds. You know, say Atlantean,
Mhm.
Lemurian, you know, Syrian, Pleiadian, all these different things, the Orion Wars, you know, other galactic wars and other multiverses and all this stuff coming in and saying, hey, this oneness goes all the way around. No one's excluded. This is the frequency that we not just are. This is the frequency, the reality that we're actually expanding, because we're coming to a greater awareness, and there's a collective involved with it, two or more gather, and therefore this is creation. Creation's exploding again. It's like a
Mhm.
big soulgasm, and it's happening because of each
And
one.
it's a trip, right? Would you have thought this is where it was going a year ago? Because I
No,
didn't see that.
no.
I couldn't see it. I was like, it was a whole nother trajectory, right? And then it leveled itself up to a whole nother can't see it, but then it just showed up. Like this story, I didn't see a year ago. I
Not
didn't
like
see this a
this.
year ago.
Not like this.
Mm-mm.
No,
This is this is like it makes it it's beautiful that the human even knows this story now.
yeah,
Exactly what you just said. Think about that. That Todd, the human, which by the way, into the collective, now knows this story. Susan now knows this story, and everybody watching now knows this story from this new place within ourselves of love, because it's all comes down to that, right?
yeah.
And that makes me happy. And it makes me think, I swear to God, I was like, yesterday I was talking to a friend of mine. I was like, we need to get Todd, we need to get this show. I was like, you don't know this show, but it's on point, and it's a space to. I wanted to be on TV or something. I was like, do you think the world's ready?
You
She's in
know
the,
what? I mean, I
real
have been.
world.
Yeah.
I was like, do you think the world's ready for it now? I
I,
was like,
I,
because I think this show needs to be on television.
I, you
You
know,
know?
wow, you're just like lighting me up. Okay, I mean, like, I don't mean, I mean, the whole time I've been like this. I don't feel sick anymore, but so
I'm an
you know
energy
what?
pusher. I'm an
Well,
energy pusher.
I think we're
I will
all
push
pushing.
that energy. Yes, I will.
But you know, I'm like, I reached out to you because I'm totally not with it. You know, I reached out to you during the week. I'm like, hey, let's talk this weekend, because we met through your interest in collaboration, right? And our
Mhm.
conversation, me, you, and Morgan, was a lot like this. It was just, and then the same thing was happening. These little glitches on my end, your galactic beeps coming in, and all that. So this is like, okay, but
Oh, that was crazy. That
I know
was
it was,
crazy. That
and
was
I'm
that was
actually,
such a cool experience, by the way.
I know it was, and I don't know if the audience is getting it or the people that are watching, but I'm getting this. I'm getting the same type of thing happen, or especially earlier. So
Mhm.
I had this thing, right, and I was like, I need to talk to her. I just feel like a knowing. Let's go to the next step, or let's bounce some ideas off. Now, the whole time Morgan's been saying this month, let's don't do anything till the 31st. Something's shifting. I think that's what
Yep.
we've been talking about as we started the show. what I'm getting at as an example is there's this magnetic force. I'm going to say magnetic electrical force that's moving into alignment, even when us, me, you, others that collaborate with each other or with us or whatever, we don't even have to say anything. Like it's just going to happen as it happens, and when it's supposed to happen. And I don't know how to get this point across, but this letting go and surrendering. Now I'm getting it. Yeah, this letting go and surrendering is that's all it takes. That's all it takes now. Like you said, you don't have to do the meditation, you don't have to do this, don't do that. We're past this point. It's really surrendering. And that's what I was doing all night last night for 2, 3, 4 hours. That's what she was doing. We didn't talk to each other. We don't always talk to each other when it's happening. But the same thing, we were surrendering resistance to something, surrendering attachment to something, surrendering to, hey, oh my God, I feel like I'm having a Kundalini experience like I've never had before. I feel like I'm going to faint or seizure. Okay, I'm surrendering, even though I'm scared, shaking in my boots here, and I feel like I'm going to levitate. And I could feel it go from my lower chakras into my stomach, and it never went all the way up, not fully, just like overflow did. But oh my God, I told Morgan this morning, I'm like, I have no idea what would have happened to me. Like I would have been shot out of my body or something. I never felt anything like that, but it all came down to the surrender. Everything. Surrendering to anything.
Everything.
Yeah. It's.
I know, and I think to myself, it is the surrender. And that's even after we talked and stuff, it was funny because every interaction can teach you something that you can look at or whatever to surrender. And my thing was, because there's so, you know, my nature is a fairy, so I'm like, I love just to play and I love to push energy and all that stuff. It's just it's nature of my person, and then, but I never think about my part of the equation. I always just think like I just have done it as an old pattern way, and they said no, you can't do it the old pattern way. Your presence is important. And I even said to you guys, I was like, what do you need me to do? I'll just do it. And then they said no, you won't just do it. What you're going to do is you're going to recenter, and who you are and how you're walking through this next piece is vital to you. And it doesn't matter even what is outside of you, and you don't have to do one thing for the collective, because the work you do does for the collective. So you don't have to do, like, we don't have to get you on TV to affect the collective. It already is that. You know what I mean? I don't have to reach 1 million subscribers. And by the way, I could care less about that, but I'm giving those as examples. It doesn't matter. And the moment I heard that, I was like, but you do. But it said, you do, you matter. And that's for the human, right? Because when it's all said and done, remember, we're not soul retrieval. When I hear about soul retrieval and all that stuff, I'm like, that stuff is outdated, because the soul is never in perfect state. It's only the human. And so, and the human is not in an imperfect state. It's in a state of not knowing to be loved and to know how to receive love from from its mommy and daddy. You know what I mean? Not from another human being, but from its mommy and daddy. So, and from its galactic family, and from its angel family, and from every being that's that's come into itself. So it showed me that, and I just was like, okay. And I was like, you're right. And I do want to, that's how I want Susan to feel. So really, I think this next piece is not just about the surrendering, but it's like, what do you want your human Todd to experience? What do you want that to feel like? Your human Todd has been on a planetary system that's been in bondage. You know what I mean? Like, besides giving it maybe ice cream or whatever, like, is there what do you want that human Todd to experience? And then
I agree.
Then figure it out, and that's really what they were showing me, is what it's about, is to keep focused on what you want to experience. What, like now that we have all this access, right? And you have all this trust. It's access and trust. That's what they're saying. Think access and trust. You've been given access and trust, kind of like the relationship you're in with Morgan, right? You have access and trust with one another. Same thing. And now it's with self, that access and trust is now let's, play like children again. That access and trust is it's been built. The bridge has been built. Maybe that's what it is. The bridge has been built. Maybe that's the rainbow bridge. Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
The rainbow bridge isn't outside of ourselves. It's nowhere to get to. It's not a waiting for the planetary system. It's the rainbow bridge inside yourself. It's the bridge back to your human, back to all that is. That's the rainbow bridge.
Yeah.
Lovely. Who would have thought? I didn't see that before. I kept imagining, the human only imagines what it knows in a 3 cents or 40 cents or whatever, but yeah, that makes sense. I say yes. I love it. I have a rainbow bridge inside. Rainbow bridge, yay!
Yeah. Yeah, like what do you do with it? Like that
Yeah.
like, so that's, I think that's the
That's the fun thing.
yeah.
I don't know.
That's
What
right.
do we do with it? We've got dragons online. What do we do with it? Let's fly with them. I don't know. Let's do something fun. Like, you want to create more in a 3D matrix, or do we want this human to really experience some crazy far out magical stuff?
Yeah.
I don't
And
know. Maybe Todd, we were aiming too low. You know what I mean? With that idea, nothing personal, but maybe we're aiming too low. Maybe sky is the limit and we don't even know what sky the limit looks like.
yeah.
But I'm willing to collaborate on an idea of sky's the limit. I mean, because I've never played that way before. I played in this reality based on these rules and how you do things. And, let's pop this party off.
I would
way
like
as
to do
humans.
that. Believe me, I have been
And I'm not talking like right now to do, but I'm just saying like
no,
not involving me, but don't you get excited? Like we could pop this party off for everybody. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what could we can we get those wings out from the human body? Can we morph the physical DNA? I mean, can we let's get this party started.
I think so.
I'm kind of excited. I feel like that's really the direction that
and I think it's these actions we take that were one time. Okay, like if you just take the example of what's kind of pulled us together, in your comments about this being broadcast by whatever medium, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's such a long shot. In the old awareness would be a long shot to think that this could grow from what it has to become this thing. And then you get this information in like you did, which was, doesn't matter if it's one person or 100, 1,000, 100,000, because you're actually hitting the whole grid, even if it's not registering to the
human yet
aspect who thinks so much less of itself than it really is. So anyway, then when you do that, because there's something that happens when two or more collaborate, co-create, this new creation, it's creation energy. It's the God-Goddess seed sprouting, but it's done in a way where somehow or another, maybe like the experiential combines with the existing Akashic and creates something that's never been created. Kind of like you were told, don't do what's been done before. Don't do what you've done before. I've been told that for 8 years. Don't do a book that spells it out. This is for me, and I'm not saying for anyone else, but don't do these things. Anything that was put before me, or that I thought up in my head, or I need to do this, I need to do that. Every time it went back to be spontaneous, intuitive, imaginative, creative. It's creativity. Like create your way out. It's not linear.
Can we do something? Exactly. Can we do something fun? I'm going to put a shout out to all listeners out there. And when I say listeners, I know it goes beyond 3D. It's out there. Bring us the people that want to play, that want to help our humans play on another level of you know what I mean? Let's pop this party off. Who wants to come play with us? Let's do it.
Yeah.
Come on, fairy family. Let's do this. Let's bring it on in, because asking you shall receive.
Yeah.
And they said, ask right now. There's so many people listening. And I was like, okay, yes. And then sit back and just relax. You know what I mean? Like, it's not like, okay, we're not going to grind it down. We don't have, it doesn't have any borders. It's not from the human perspective. You know, I'm a fire starter, though. I love to start the fire that's going to be blazing for, you know, blazing for all of us to really, you know, have some fun. Why else are we at 0 point if not to start it, this next chapter off in an unimaginable way right now? Like, I was told to get rid of my vision boards. It was really funny. Like, you don't need you don't need to think in those ways. And I was like, okay. So like literally I last year I was like, vision boards have got to go. Everything's got to go. Every old way isn't nothing personal. It just isn't, it isn't, it's old patterns for a 3D world. And if we keep creating those old patterns for the 3D world, and the human has already been doing that, so what are we, we're gonna make a, you know, $1 billion here on this planet to do what with? You know what I mean? Like, it's more interesting for us to do something the humans never done before, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, like create a 24/7 multiple channel.
Yes,
Independent,
anything that gives people encouragement to feel good about being a human, and also about being galactic, and also good about being everything that they are, whatever they are. Only they will know, and it's all good enough for me, you know? No shame. The shame blame game is outdated, but it does take us asking, right? It does take the will of the asking, no matter how far and wide. And that's how you were saying it, which inspired me to contact you. And now we're here saying it again because there are so many listening. I hear it. They're like, yes, 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 do it, Susan. I was like, all right, cool. You know, we're fun people to play with, Todd.
Yeah, and our friend Huna, who's been putting up some great comments. We talked a few days ago. Well, we had a show, and then we talked afterwards. He's says 100 channel Zoom rooms. Yeah, there's something he's working on. I think we're going to talk again. That's one of the things I was going to talk to you about. But we're just
going to say yes, and then we're going to see if we can trump it.
Yeah.
So back in the day when I would collaborate with songs and stuff like that, lyrics, I would say, if you can trumpet, we'll go with that lyric until you can trumpet, or that chorus. If you can trumpet, because they're like, I don't know. Well, if you don't know, no problem. So we've got something in place as an anchor, and let's just keep going as high as we can. You know, and it doesn't even mean a project with this. I'm talking about the human experience. That's really what I'm talking about. If you want to put information on a format, that's
but you know, cool, but to your point earlier, that might go the way of the vision boards. You know, what we thought we had to literally materialize energetically, we've already done it. And is it useful anymore? Are we dealing with things that have to be materialized? Or are we, like you said, are going to be able to sprout our wings and fly wherever we want to go? I'm with you. Like, you know, let's go to dinner on Venus tonight, you know, or whatever. Right?
Yes, see what I'm saying? Exactly. You're like, I'll meet you. Exactly. The human doesn't know what's possible. Only the greater self will, and then the human's going to learn to trust in it. Because remember, we're off grid now, right? We're off the grid piece.
Yeah, yeah. And see, that's really big about what you brought up too, about the whole thing about this level of love where you give people their own choices. And that energy is unconditional, right? It is. It's unconditional. It's like it leaves no doubt because there is no infringement. You know what? There is no encroachment at all. It is the essence of the golden rule or perfect order. You know, yin yang, cause effect. You know, it's the perfect equilibrium. That 0 point that you're talking about. And it actually,
they said the golden ratio.
Golden ratio. Yeah.
The golden ratio. They're like, he's talking about the golden ratio, and I was like, oh, that's cool.
Now, I'm just curious. This is more trivial than anything, but who are you hearing? Is it one voice?
It's not voice. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I mean, but I meant the energy,
the
origination, or whatever.
I don't know how to say. I just know
Yeah.
I hear they show me it in pictures. Sometimes they show me it. And the funny thing is like, they just do. And then it connects in my heart.
Yeah.
And then it's beautiful. It's always been that way. And it just has gotten stronger as I've trusted in it. And I used to say they, them, but really
No, I
it's
get
probably all parts of me, to be honest with you,
yeah. Well,
because
yeah.
you know, the essence and the body and the this. I mean, there's so many pieces constructed that
True.
make up who we are.
Yeah.
Should we talk about the dragons? I love them. I want to talk.
Whatever
I
you
want
want
to
to
put a shout
talk
out to the
about.
dragons. Well, let's put a shout out to the dragons. Dragons, I love you so much. Mwah. Mommy loves you.
Yeah, I had a few last night. Huna says thank you. Back at you. Yeah. Yeah, that'd be interesting to get you and him on the same.
Love, don't you just love the dragons? Like, honestly, I gotta tell you, I thought I loved them, and then I fell more deeply in like I the more I know them, the more I love them. My human gets to know dragons. I'm sorry, but that's pretty fantastic. I was nervous like in January to talk about it because I was like, oh, these people think I'm probably lost my noodle because I've done a year and a half of showing you my journey and it's unfiltered. So I was just like, okay, now I'm talking about dragons, and I've talked about like the feminine and the masculine, and every part of the ride. I've just talked about it from a perspective, and but I love them so much because they're part. I mean, my God, the human gets to know dragons. You know, like pretty cool. Every human, not just you, not just me. It's that collective oneness, wanting what we want for ourselves, we want for everyone, and we want this experience to just trickle out. And I think that's really another piece of it, right? It's like, you know, we are now humans that want for others to experience what we're experiencing.
Yeah.
Like that in itself is like, it looks like a simple tool. It's a powerhouse tool. I was in a poker game and the girl at the table had never played poker before. And I thought, let's just see if we can have her win. I thought to myself, let's just see. So I just, every time she kept getting her cards and stuff like that, I just kept sending her love. I just kept sending her like love because I was like, I was like so proud of you, and I'm encouraging her. Well, she won. She won the entire pot. You know what I mean? And we're now in a place where we can do that for each other. And that's pretty cool because everyone's going to win from that perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then I think too, one of the things that's happening is people have been talking about it because of the way things have accelerated and the place that we're at. I think it was Franco, or no, I think it was Sandra Walters said a couple days ago in her communication with the Pleiadians that they were like, "Hey, man, you guys like blew it away. You guys have come so far, so fast. We don't even know where you're going. We don't have anything to compare it to." But having said that, that's also accelerating and intensifying. If you take the linear out of it, especially the awareness, the higher awareness, shadow, being put into that universal isolation, being put into situations of to make the choice, new choice. And it's intense for a lot of people. That's part of what has come out in the last week. You were talking about at the top of the show, people going, holy crap, these last 5 days, these last 7 days, these last 10 days have been intense. And although it's moving fast on a linear scale, it's intensifying. It's magnifying. It's in your face. Everything is in your face. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's actually a good sign.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it is. And it's beautiful because you're coming up against the parts in another you didn't think you could find love in. And if it's funny because for a long time everyone talked about the collective consciousness, the oneness, and I was like, I'm not getting down with that because I was like, I'm gonna vet it out before I'm gonna speak it, and I understand it, but from the perspective in which we talked about on this show. And
Yeah.
this ride has not been easy. Oh my gosh, but really, we can look to say the ride's not been easy, but all we can be really is in the moment, and the moment feels pretty good to me.
Yeah.
I'll take this moment, when it doesn't feel good, I'll fill my love cup up. I will ask for help to fill that cup up with love, because it's only lack of love in those moments that is all that's occurring from me.
Yeah.
It's just me not knowing that part to love myself. And that I will do, that I'm agreeing to. So it's like I will do, I'm agreeing to it. So I'm graciously appreciative as a human. And at the same time, my awake, part that is not human knows that I will hand walk myself through it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I have, and I will continue, because filling your love cup up does feel good.
Yeah.
It feels good to know that you are loved, no matter how bad you've ever been,
Yeah.
or no matter how bad you've been treated. Because I could, I've got it all. And guess what? I'm loved no matter what. Through it all, I'm absolutely 100% loved. And this when I saw that this is an old blip, that we can step back into that piece of it, or we can stand on the other side of that piece. For right now, I may be thrown back to the other, side of the wolves, and in 5 days or 5 minutes, God only knows. And then I will do the practice that I can guarantee for myself, which is that I am loved.
Yeah.
Just as I am. Guaranteed.
True. It's a lot.
It's beautiful, though. I feel really blessed, and I feel honored to have this conversation with you.
Yeah, it's a lot.
It took 50 years for us to finally meet on the planet and to have this conversation, and it's an honor.
Yeah, it is. And that's part of, I think, what people used to say, what was that phrase? They used to say, our biggest fear is the fear of our own power. I think that's another thing that's kind of getting shattered. It's like we kind of got to a point where we accept, and there's this profound, biblical, cosmic thing happens. And it's an awareness of just what that is. And it's just like humility.
It is totally. Well, think about who was teaching the human, right? Who was teaching the human, your human, prior to your love family coming in, right? Love family encompasses everything. Who was teaching your human? Older, more ancient humans, and that didn't match, right? So we go either this way or we go this way, right? So, and the constant repeating was, you're not loved. You know what I mean? You're not amazing. You're not perfect. You're not going to be anything unless you play by these rules and do these things. And if you don't, you're going to get a hurt amount of pain. You know what I mean? There's no roof over your head. There's no this, there's no that. It's no joke. You know what I mean? In a system that has done some serious ass kicking, it's almost like being in jail. You know what I mean? Like, in some ways, if you look at it from a perspective, like, it feels like you were in jail. You've been literally, butt raped and everything else from the bully humans. The human, ego. And I don't, that was their survival technique. And that's how, and that's what I feel like. And that's, so, am I relieved? Yes. But at the same time, I've been here, I've had my butt handed to me many, many times. I was like, I can't count how many times, I can't count how many swords. I was like, I got a whole closet full of swords I pulled out of my back.
Yep.
but I'm still standing and I still got a smile on my face and I don't shame myself for having sores in my back. And at the same time, I've been able to find forgiveness in myself, which was the hardest part, not really the forgiveness of the other person, but forgiveness in myself.
Yeah.
Was the key, you know?
And these things can be heard and spoken to me or anyone, or read, whatever. But you can't get past having to face each and everything within your own, within your own universe. Every one of those scars that you love and all that, you don't just look at it and say, oh, I love that.
No.
You look at it and say, what was that? What is it in me? You know what I mean? Because like you said, it's like this leveling up of the love thing, and that forgiveness is a big part of it, because that forgiveness of the self, it automatically translates to anyone else, whatever level you're at with yourself, But so that's why I remember one thing I used to hear over and over 7-8 years ago was they would say, no one can miss a step on the soul highway. No one. You cannot take a shortcut. There is no shortcut. And nothing against Richard Rudd and the Gene Keys. It's a fabulous book to help a lot of people. But I remember there was one Gene Key they were talking about saying, okay, well, if you do this one, you pass all these up and go to this one. I'm like, that didn't resonate. Everything else I've read about him, that resonates. But we can't miss anything. Oh, I did? Is it you or me? Here we go. More. I don't know. Maybe that's it.
You're frozen.
I'm frozen.
So
can you
there
hear
you
me?
go. You're back. Yeah, you're back. But it was so funny because you were like this, and then you're in frozen mode. Yeah. I no, and I am in agreement with you, and I just want to make sure that you know that right now I was, the whole week was, the flow, the week before that was the flow. It's like you're on a journey, on a vacation. Basically, it's like a vacation with your entire family, and you're going to hit those bumps. And when they hit, I feel like you got to have some go-to moves in place, and only each person will know what those go-to moves are, and you get to develop them because
So give me an
it's not
example.
going to work for everyone. Well, the go-to move for me is to close my eyes and to just ask the universe, the divine mother and father, for love.
Yeah.
But I will tell you this straight up, and I've been on this ride a long time, right? There are parts inside of ourselves that could have had resistance. So there's the little girl, the little boy, there's the man, the woman. All parts of those must come to alignment with, I think of it as the divine mother and father, but that's because that's my trajectory, not because it's the right way. There's everyone's got their own right, and please take it the way it feels right for you. And I had to admit a year and a half ago, there were parts of me that didn't feel lovable. And then and that was the deepest cry. I think that cry, I thought I'd suffocate myself because I couldn't breathe, because all the tissue had swelled up in my nose area, and I was crying and I couldn't stop it because it was just an onslaught. And oh my God, that was heavy. That was heavy duty, and I didn't feel lovable. And the Divine Mother came in, and Kuan Yin and Mother Mary, and held me, and that is how. And they showed me myself.
Yeah.
And that is how, that part of it. But also another piece of it is the denial. There was a part in me that was denying. Like, it's like you can say that you love the universe, but if you don't feel you're lovable, then there's a part of you that denies its connection to the universe.
Yeah.
Therefore, you go and you act on the universe's behalf, saying that it's the universe. So then you can build up resistance, right? So you can build a case against why you're not lovable, and why something doesn't love you.
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
so you have to look at all those pieces, and And otherwise, how can you have a relationship with anyone, including yourself, if you don't get down to the honest truth of yourself? So that I had to get to that. And then my last piece, which was not last piece, it's never a last piece, but my most recent one is that ever since I was a little girl, I believed in the twin flame journey. You can call it whatever you want, but this, divine connection.
Yeah.
And I'm 50, I've never been married. But I knew about it, right? And then about, I think 6 years ago, I was in Vegas and I went to open the bathroom door. So bizarre. And then I saw twin flames. I was in a room and everyone was this, kings and queens, and they were all elegant and they were all in their amazing self. I started crying. I was in like 2 reality systems. So when I started a year and a half ago, when everything went away in my life, right? Like when you're like, okay, there goes the job. Wait, there's the 10 jobs going away. What's the 10 years? All that stuff goes away. And that was a one thing. I was like, well, maybe it's my time to get on my, twin flame journey. Why do I tell you all these? These are all stories. And the stories will keep looping you into the outcome to that story. So that was another thing I had to learn. But all those stories had to be let go of. But
Yeah.
I was hanging on tight to the twin flame one so tightly that my little fingers, it's like on an edge. Have you ever been on an edge of a cliff and you hang on? Well, that second deepest cry I ever had was when I said the expectation and all that stuff had to go away. It was my last hope. Okay, Todd, if I didn't have a twin flame love on this on this ride, what
Yeah.
the heck was I doing here? Right? Like,
Yeah.
kill me now. And I was like, I'm gonna be alone forever, and I let that go. I was like, I'm letting it go because number one, that says I don't trust in the universe, but not trust in the universe to give me love. But those stories are program systems. We're in a system that loves to create stories so they can have program systems to loop you back in. So
Yeah.
I was like, that's not a story and that's not an outcome that I want to have in an infinite universe where everything's possible. That I get to stay only in my lane and it becomes only this small. So I was like, I'm giving it all up, right? I'm giving up the concept of that. I'm giving that up. So
Yeah.
I let go and my fingers really hurt on a universal level. I was like, oh my God, I'm so tight to that. Now it doesn't, none of that matters. It doesn't matter. It got rid of all the program systems that were lined up with that piece of it too. And that's that's been my journey, but I don't know everyone's journey is the same. But I will say from a human perspective, there are loops, there are energetic, reconditionings and conditionings associated with belief systems and what people want to believe in, and it puts you on trajectories of energy.
Yeah.
And those, I had all of them, and I was good, in my opinion, an opportunity to step away from everything and everyone and just center in on Susan and be honest with myself and talk about the things I didn't want to talk about to myself and cry about those things. I mean, if I were an outside point of person looking in, I would have probably tried to come rescue me 100 times because it was so sad, So I stand joyous because I've come through those pieces, and every time I celebrate each experience and I get excited again, like a newborn child, because I know that we're entering all these wonderful places.
Yeah.
But I know we all have similar stories of some degree. If you're a human, you've got to have something.
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
know?
Absolutely.
So that's it.
That's good.
So yes, I'm ready to pop this party off,
Let's
but at
play.
the same time, let's
play.
play.
Yeah. Who wants to play? Who wants to come together and create?
Okay.
Create.
I say yes.
Because we're telepathic, we don't even have to explain anything. We just want to create. We want to expand this moment, this energy, right?
You went somewhere. You're literally electric right now. Like you sound like you're electronic. You're in a dimension, but I'm not really sure where you went. I was like, do you take all this with you, Todd? Because you're.
I don't know.
When people travel to another dimension, then the bandwidth gets like
God, what is going on here?
Exactly. I'm gonna go there. No,
Oh
no,
my
no,
God.
Right where it's not right. You want to take the ride? So I've got the e-ticket. Here it is. Here, please.
You sound like Mickey Mouse or something like that. You sound like, what is it?
Tell us where you're at.
What was, I can't remember. I'm gone. I'm done. I'm gone. I'll reach out to chipmunks. Laurel got it right. Laurel got it right. Thank you, Laurel, for yesterday, and all the other times, and everybody else, for the little contributions, because they make
I
a
just
difference.
upgraded to a whole nother space, and we were all gifted
Yeah.
to be in front of him. Thank you.
If I yeah,
Thank you.
yes, I'll reach out to you. God, that was good. That was a beautiful hour and 20 minutes. Thank you so much. I'll see you. We'll be back in a couple hours.
Many blessings.
Yeah, we're gonna have a show in a couple hours. It's 4:00 Hawaii time, so it's, oh my God, I can't think. What is it? 10 o'clock New York time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, and it'll be lunchtime down under, and it'll be early in the morning in Europe. Anyway, we're gonna have Monique Hendry and Yvonnya Bartholomew's from Tasmania, who are both like expanding in this moment, divine feminine, just really doing it, and they're going to come on together, so that'll be cool. Thank you, everybody, and I'll reach out to you. We'll reach out to you after the 31st. Let all this stuff integrate. Are you still there? I can't even hear you. This is weird. Okay, see you later. Bye. Very strange. Very strange indeed.